Welcome back, everybody. Previously in the last video we installed an XR250R XL250 pumper carb that increased power significantly. It was successful. Today we're going to be putting an XR250R shock on the rear, and let me tell you, it is phenomenal. I'm also going to be replacing the front brake rotor with a high performance front brake rotor that's also going to save some weight. And we're also going to take this little bad girl out for a test ride. This does knock off another ounce, and I'll take it. But like I said, I bent my rotor somehow. I hit a rock, whatever. Anyway, it bent, and when you spin it, maybe I can show you here. I don't know if you can see that. You see the wobble? Okay, so that is going to really hurt the braking power whenever you have a damaged rotor like that. Anyway, so we're going to take this thing off real quick. Piece of cake. Sometimes we think we have to be so critical in all that we do, and we can really get wrapped up in things that just really don't matter, you know. Yes, brake rotors are kind of important because they do stop you. Having good brakes is probably pretty high on the priority list, I would say. It's pretty high on mine. So having good pads in there. We did put the carbon fiber pads in there, which were not that much lighter. They're a little bit lighter, but they're better. And they do stop better. They last longer. I like them. I've used the centered pads, which, you know, has a little bit of metal in it, but and they definitely last longer. But they don't have the stopping power that the carbon fibers do. It seems like I think the carbon fibers last just as long. And we got this, and so this one is it's almost 1.5 ounces lighter. You know, it's not a super high quality one, but we'll see how it works. I think I paid $30 for this, and I'm cheating because I'm not taking the axle out all the way, but I'm trying to speed this up a little bit. My wife's about to get home for her 3-day weekend, and you guys are probably laughing at me because I got sandals on them. But you know what? It's about 105 degrees, and I'm not kidding, in this garage right now, and I'm burning up. But I'm doing this for you, and I'm trying to show you quickly. Although I'm not that quick. There's a very critical component that I should put on here, and it's kind of important, and it's called Loctite, as you know. And I would say if there's any bolts that deserve Loctite, it's your brake rotor. I picked up this little goodie here to protect my disc, the front disc, and it's going to go on here, like so. So we're going to mount this thing, but I just it's kind of. And see, I already screwed up here and I forgot something. I'm going to back these off a little bit. Okay. And we're going to nice and straight. That's how it should be. And what that does is it kind of seats everything in there. Okay, now we tighten these up. These studs do strip, so you got to be careful. All right, now that's, you know, that noise, the rubbing is normal. The pads are pretty new, and of course the rotor is brand new. All right, so there you have it, a perfectly straight rotor, just what we wanted. Okay, Saved a little bit of weight, not much. There's the stock one. There's the new one. Okay. Okay, with the shock out, we can see this is the stock CR230F out of a 2004. And we're going to put this shock out of a 1995 XR250R. And you can see the differences between the shock. Now the shock eyes are identical, 15 inches on both of them. So it will fit. I know it's going to fit because other people have told me it's going to fit, so I believe them. You can see the difference in the spring links, the shock body links. What we're gaining is a reservoir to keep things cool when things get hot. And it has compression damping on it. It also has rebound damping adjustment. Nice clickers here. So this is what we're going to gain. Now here's the interesting thing. The old shock, we're going to call it the old shock now, comes in at 9 pounds 5 ounces. Now this one, despite having a remote reservoir, is actually lighter at 8 pounds 9 ounces. So more weight savings. I think it's because of the aluminum part here instead of steel. And I imagine the shock body itself is a little bit lighter and a smaller spring. So that's probably the main reason, the smaller spring. So there we have it. Welcome to Shock World. Okay, for you guys that have never done this before, pulling the shock the easiest way that I have found. Now, if somebody has a better way of doing this, let me know. And fine, you know, the master mechanics out there, cool. But this is what I have found. Taking off the top shock bolt first. I already unloosened it, so it'd make it a little quicker, just to show you. Okay, top shock bolt out. Okay, pulling the pin, and then pulling your brake arm off, which is a total pain. Okay, brake arm off. Again, I've loosened up these bolts to make it quicker. Now, this one right here, I'll show you a little shot in a second. Okay, so it's this bolt right here. I'm undoing the nut on the other side. And of course, it's always gonna fall. Okay, so now lifting up on the swing arm a little bit, we loosen it up. The top shock mount, it is already unloosened, and we just pull it out. This is why I can't get my brake arm to shut. This is why you have to pull the brake arm out of the way, because otherwise the bolt won't come out. And there the whole thing drops. Now we have access to the shock bolt. I've already loosened it. Shock bolt out. Lift the swing arm back up. Voila. And here, I'm bending that tab up. With a punch. With a punch and a hammer. Okay? About the only way I can. You can't really get a wrench on it to bend it up. I mean, you could grind it, but why grind away the frame? You don't have to. All right. And there's the result. And then we're just going to grind it just a smidge off this, not much. Just kind of, we're just going to smooth that corner a little bit so there's no binding. Yes, I do use a torque wrench occasionally, like for shocks. And there we go, 33 pounds. Let me show you this thing. So this is what we wound up with. Had to bend this up a little bit with the punch. Had to put some spacers in there. Okay? And here you can see where I mounted my bottle. I don't know if it's going to work or not. I actually used the starter bolt here. I don't know if that's such a great idea, but it's pretty solid. And it just, you know, it's pretty clean and it works. And you only need one clamp, and it's resting on the base of the case here. So it's very stable. I mean, it doesn't even move. So I did have to notch out for the hose a little bit. But other than that, it's a major pain in the butt, let me tell you. By the time you pull the air box, you got to get the air box out of the way. There's just no way around it, the battery box. And then you can kind of move things around. It's tight. It's about 100 degrees and I'm sweating, and this has been quite a job. Some people say, oh, it just bolts right on. No, it doesn't. But it is doable, and it came out okay. It came out all right. It works, so we'll see how it actually works. Okay, so I finally got the shock installed, and I finally got the bottle, the remote reservoir installed, and this is what I came up with. Now, I've seen guys, they mount it over here on this frame rail, and you have your adjustment here for your knob, and that's fine, but I didn't like that because of the chain. The chain could actually come up and hit it, so I didn't like that. So I wanted to go with this area, and I've seen guys mount it to the frame tube here with hose clamps, but I didn't really like that either. I wanted to use the stock clamps, so that's what I did. I put the stock clamp onto this bolt here, and then on the starter bolt right there. So it took a lot of grinding, and I had to grind the clamps so that it would fit in there. It's a lot of work, and I don't know if it's worth it to you. I like the adjustment because now I've got a nice compression adjustment, compression damping, and I've got a nice clean line. In fact, this actually sticks out further, and this is tucked in, and so but I still have easy access to my compression damping, and I like the whole setup. I like the way it turned out. So, but I think it came out pretty clean. I don't know. What do you think? Let's ride it. Wow. So my first impression is, wow, these jumps are big. Really big. I don't know, man. I don't know. Looks like a bunch of kids. There's a couple old guys like me, but not a couple. Oh boy, I don't know. Okay, let's do this. Well, I hadn't been on a Supercross style track in many years, so I was feeling a little more than rusty. So I can't really blame the bike. It performed about as well as I thought it would. It was actually me that was the problem. Still recovering from COVID and a shoulder injury, I wasn't really feeling myself, and I just wasn't having a good track day. But the XR250R shock was a big improvement over the stock shock, even with its stiffer BBR spring. The bucking and bottoming was greatly reduced, but I still felt that I needed a stiffer spring, especially in the forks. Remember, the forks have also had the BBR springs installed in them with the Racetech Gold Valve emulators, and they were working nicely, but again, these jumps were pretty big. It was probably perfect for a Hare and Hounds or other enduro type race setup. Felt great. All in all, a big improvement, but is it a race bike yet? Not quite. I'm starting to lean toward those CRF250R upside down forks that I've been eyeballing on eBay. We'll see how that goes. So, the question, is it worth it? Well, considering what I paid for the shock, which wasn't much, and a little bit of labor, a little more than I anticipated, I still feel it was definitely worth it. The improvement it's there, you can feel it. Considering some of the other alternatives for shocks out there, you're looking at $500 to $1,000 for a really nice shock. So whether that's worth it to you, that's up to you. So next time, we'll do a little more fine tuning on the suspension, some track time, and while we're at it, we're going to install an XR250R much lighter magnesium brake drum. Well, I hope you found this helpful, and whatever you do, watch the next video and please do subscribe.